that migrant caravan from Central America we've been telling you about are now camped at the U.S.-Mexico border. The members have no right to enter the United States legally, but that has not stopped the press from openly encouraging them to do it anyway. Over at NBC, talking heads suggested that the Statue of Liberty, the poem at the bottom, somehow, with no vote being taken, has become federal law and commands us to let them in, no questions asked. Watch.
A very public test of American resolve over immigration policy, as well as the limits of American compassion.
These are the faces of the desperate, locked out on the doorstep of the United States waiting.
The president said, have you seen this caravan? Have you seen the caravan? I ask you, Mr. President, have you?
What do you think this discussion.
The Statue of Liberty would say if she met them?
Come on in. Let me help you out.
It's like, how do people that dumb get TV jobs? I guess they're just passing them out. Over at CNN, meanwhile, United Shades of America host Camo Bell has gone even farther than that. He says that all borders everywhere are immoral.
This idea of borders and walls is ridiculous. We're too good for this. The point is, walls suck. This $3 billion manifestation of irrational fear stoked by politicians running for elected office is made of concrete barriers, steel beams, double-layered fencing, and barriers fit for the beaches of Normandy. Welcome to America's Got Talent, but it's wasting it on building this wall.
Here's a guy. He'd want to ask, do you lock your door? You got a password on your email? Why, it's just a manifestation of fear, I guess. Well, CNN and NBC operate out of America. They cover American news. Americans work there, but they are not interested in the interests of Americans, obviously. Ethan Behrman is a California radio host, and he joins us tonight. So, Ethan, I assume, like every good progressive, you're for letting the members of the caravan in. And I just want to be clear, I'm not against the members. I would want to come here, too, if I lived in Honduras. I understand completely. But it raises the question, since they're not the only people who want to come here, where do you draw the line? What's the limit for people seeking a better life coming to this country?
Well, we have great capacity to accept people into our country, and it follows the Judeo-Christian ethic and morals that we would help those who are less fortunate. Plus, we also signed the 1951 UN Convention on Refugees, which actually sets forth the three aspects of how we determine who to let in under asylum and refugee status. And that's what these people are coming here for is they're fleeing the violence. They're fleeing governments that are not able to protect them from violent gangs, and they're coming here to get a better life. And by the way, we have
some cases joining violent gangs that our government refuses to protect us from. So it is kind of the circle of life in some ways. But let me just ask you more precisely about what the limit is. So there are 1.2 billion people in Africa, probably a billion fall into the categories you just described. How many have a right to come here? What is our capacity?
Well, up until now, I mean, we've been able to absorb roughly 1 million people legally immigrating into the United States every year.
Right.
We know that under President Obama, it was over 100,000 refugees every year that we were able to allow in as well. So we can absorb. I mean, by the way, this caravan
hold on, before you make generalizations,
yeah.
I want to get specific. So those, you're right with those numbers. Those are basically the numbers. And then various people come in under other programs. So it's maybe 1.5 million a year legally. We've done this for a long time. But the left is saying that's way too restrictive. So what's the number? I mean, again, let's stipulate 1 billion people want to move here next week, probably all to San Diego. How many should we let in under the Judeo-Christian ethic that you're citing?
Well, and this is also part of the Judeo-Christian ethic would be to help their governments become better functioning, and this is where foreign aid comes into play.
Let's not dodge the question. Okay, come on. There's no evidence that our foreign aid has ever made any government better. I wish it were true, but it's not. Life expectancy in a lot of Africa is lower than it was in 1965 when the colonial powers left. So it doesn't necessarily work that way, as you know. But what's the number? Like, how many? Because this is going to keep happening. With every wave, it incites more waves. And when can we say enough? When are we allowed to say that's too many?
Well, first things first, I mean, I will answer your question as well, which I think is that 1.5 million number, but at the same time, the Trump administration has dramatically cut back on the number of legal immigration. That is, Syrian refugees, we let 11 in so far this year, as opposed to 15,000. 750,000 people have died in Syria. That's the most clear example of helping refugees.
Okay.
What's that,
But these are on the margins. Again, is there a number, or does talking about it scare the crap out of the country and reveal your real agenda, which is to totally overwhelm and change the country? Because that really is what it's about, as you know. I mean, you don't want to be honest about what the limit is? Is it just kind of like, as long as our compassion lasts? Honest, it's a sincere question.
I actually just answered. I mean, I think that 1.5 million number is
So we just keep it
pretty
there.
fair.
1.5. That's, you know,
I think that's
so that'll continue. That'll
Yeah,
make the country totally unrecognizable in 30 years, but not in 5 years. So that's enough, is 1.5 million. I mean, I don't think that's what the left is arguing for, because they're saying that we can't turn anyone down.
The country is... But Tucker, the country is unrecognizable from what it was in 1900, from 1800.
It's true.
You're
right.
We're all strangers in a strange land, and we have to remember that we are a country of immigrants, of people who were refugees and asylum seekers.
No, we're not. We're actually a country. No, that's where you're wrong. We're a country of Americans. We're a country of Americans. We're not a country of immigrants, not of foreign nationals pledging allegiance to multiple countries simultaneously. We're a country of Americans who look many different colors, many different religions, but we're Americans. And when you stop acknowledging that, that's when things fall apart into this mosaic of tribal warfare, as you know. So why does no one ever say that?
Because, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, so Carl said, I don't know if that's Norwegian or German, but remember, we didn't allow Germans to teach German to their kids. And that was a Supreme Court case that had to be settled in the early 20th century, because we have this issue where we don't like people who are different from us
racist.
at the time,
okay,
and then
so
they become part
this is
of
our
our country,
punishment for our racism. Okay. I love it, because the longer these conversations go on, the more you get to the beating heart of the truth, which is, this is punishment. That's really what this is. As you know. So good.
Come on.
Oh,
all the studies have shown the 4 Ds of the jobs that refugees and asylum seekers take actually benefit the economy within 5 years upon arrival. All of the studies have shown a positive economic impact in the regions.
I just want to say, well, unfortunately, we're out of time, but let me just say, as somebody who does this for a living, that's totally untrue. Text me those studies, and we'll talk about it next week and go through them forensically. It'll be fun. Ethan, we're out of time. It's great to see you. Thank you.
Thanks, Tucker.
Mark Krikorian is Executive Director at the Center for Immigration Studies. He just returned from a trip to the border, and he joins us now. Mark, so you were just there. Would you say the border's secure from what you saw?
No, it's not. And the Border Patrol agents we talked to and the ranchers and others, none of them said it was particularly secure either. This is the southern tip of Texas is where we're at, which is ground zero now for immigration. It used to be Arizona. Before that, it was San Diego. Those places are better patrolled. Now it's South Texas. The Border Patrol told me in South Texas, they don't have a single permanent camera tower. These are these towers, remote control cameras up top. They have a few of them on like trailers or something.
Yes.
They don't have a single permanent infrastructure of these camera towers. They need all kinds of infrastructure. They need roads that go parallel to the border so they don't have to go out and around to chase people. They need all kinds of stuff. And this is the most important impacted area of the border now.
So let me ask you, there's a picture on the screen. You took that shot. It showed chicken wire fence. Is that right there?
Yeah, that's a smuggling trail under the fence.
Is that the border right there?
No, that's not the border. That's 70 miles in from the border, believe it or not, up around a checkpoint that the Border Patrol has. So the smugglers let people off before the checkpoint. They go around and they pick them up on the other side of the checkpoint.
What kind of effect would a border wall have on this part of Texas?
There's already some real fencing that's comparable to a wall anyway, but it's hard to do it there because the river is snakes around and around. So where do you put it? Wherever you put it, there are Americans on the other side of the wall. This isn't like Arizona, so it's much more difficult. It would help in certain areas, there's no question about it, but it's not a silver bullet down there.
Is it enforceable, the border?
Yeah, it's enforceable, sure. I mean, perfectly, can we seal it off perfectly? No, but it's definitely enforceable. Close to half the Border Patrol agents we have down there are doing non-patrol things that we should be having clerks or other people do. That's something the National Guard helps with, actually. They don't go out and arrest people. They help Border Patrol so that the guys with the badges and the guns can go and arrest people better. So we can control that much better than we do now. One of the key things we also need, more detention space. Because when we arrest somebody from Central America, for instance, we can't just dump them back across the border. The Mexicans, plausibly enough, say, it's your problem. Right. We're not taking them back. You need to hold on to them somehow, but until you can get them back. Congress turned down the administration's request for extra detention money, and so they end up having to do this catch and release thing. They give them a letter, show up for your immigration hearing 2 years from now, please, and then you never see them again. They call it a run letter.
Thankfully, Paul Ryan did fund border security projects around the world for other countries. So we're grateful for that. I know they're grateful.
Yeah, I'm sure they are.